Hey, y'all, welcome back again this week to Uphold Her podcast. I'm your host, Jess, and I'm really excited for the conversation today. It's one that is sacred to me. We're asking a simple but very profound question. What is it like to witness life in the earliest days? You know, before the nursery is decorated, a name is chosen, before the rest of the world probably even knows there's a lady with a medical professional just standing there doing an ultrasound. It's really a holy space. It's when you're first getting to see, like, there's life, there's a heartbeat, you can hear it, you can see them moving, and it's just a miracle to experience. And today I'm joined by someone who does exactly that every week with us at Life Choices. Shelley, I'm just so thankful. You said yesterday. I know you already told me before we got started that you're way more comfortable being in the room,
Yes.
Administering the ultrasounds than sitting here with me today. But yeah, tell our guests just a little bit about you.
Well, thank you for having
Yeah,
me.
of course.
So I've been married 23 years
Wow.
to my wonderful husband, Justin. We have 4 girls, ages 20, 17, 14, and 11. And that keeps
Hands
me
were full.
very busy. I've also been a nurse for 23 years.
Wow.
I started out in the NICU, and I was not there very long. I moved into labor and delivery pretty quickly, and that was not planned. But it turned out to be a gift because it was in labor and delivery that I fell in love with pregnancy and just the miracle that it is. And I loved everything about it.
Wow.
I was at UAMS at the time, and they offered a lot of education to their nurses. And so
Yeah.
I was able to learn almost alongside some of the residents.
Yeah.
It was an incredible experience.
Wow, that's incredible. I always hear great things. I had friends who've delivered babies at UAMS and just absolutely love it. I would love to hear, because what was your first time you got to experience an ultrasound? Were you like a med student? Were you like watching, observing someone? Was it yours?
It was mine.
It wasn't really.
Yes, it was probably, well, for the early ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was my daughter.
Wow.
And I had been a nurse on labor and delivery for 2 years. And I had wanted to have a baby from the very moment I got married.
Wow.
And my husband said that we needed to wait a little bit. He
Yeah.
was trying to put me off. And so I'd been trying to wait patiently. And so after seeing all of these moms, and just what an amazing experience it was to have
Yeah.
a baby and the bond that they had, I could not wait for my turn. And I had been praying and anxiously waiting. And so when I saw my little baby up there and knew that this tiny baby was growing
Wow.
inside of me, it's a very overwhelming moment.
Yeah.
And it was in that moment I knew I was going to be a mom. And I was probably never the same after that. It was
Yeah.
amazing.
I know. For those maybe who are listening who've never had an ultrasound or like might be pregnant or like, I need to call and go do that, could you maybe explain what that looks like in the room? Because I was thinking, like, if my sister was listening to this, she's so far away from maybe being in motherhood that she'd be like, what does that room even look like? Do you want to explain that?
Yeah, well, usually we have to turn the lights off so we can see the screen, so it's dark. Ideally, we have a TV up on the wall so that what I'm seeing on the ultrasound machine, all the patients and family that they're in the room can also see what's going on. But we put towels across their belly just so that we don't get any ultrasound gel on any of your clothes. It's supposed to be warm ultrasound gel so that we don't scare anybody off with cold ultrasound gel. But we just have a little wand, and that wand is used just to look inside and to see what's going on, and it's amazing.
All the moms
everything
listening
that we're
in
able
are
to see.
like, yeah, I remember when they're like, raise your shirt up. And, and when before, in the very beginning, you're not really showing, you just feel very bloated. So you're like, oh, great, come look, check this out.
Yes.
And then you're like, whoa, immediately you go from off of, like, as a woman thinking, oh my gosh, I feel kind of exposed. I'm lifting my shirt to you're seeing, your baby on the screen.
Yes.
It's definitely like, it's just a miracle. That
It is.
moment you get to do that. I think, so many people maybe haven't experienced the ultrasound and all of that. What is it like? I know you've gotten to experience, especially volunteering with us at Life Choices. What are some of those emotions that women are facing when you do that ultrasound? And because I know it's like can be shocking. Like, there's
Yes.
actually a heartbeat already.
Yes. A lot of them come in scared. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of them are visibly shaking. Some of them are really quiet. Some of them talk a lot because they
Yeah.
don't know how else to express themselves. We have returning moms that I think are really overwhelmed with the fact that they're back here again, knowing what's ahead of them. We have women that have experienced loss, and when you come in after a loss, I think they're very nervous.
Yeah.
Because they just don't know what to expect. And then we have the women that are not sure if they want to keep the pregnancy.
Yeah.
And so they're very stoic, very quiet. They usually don't want to talk very much. And so it's kind of just a quiet moment.
Do you find that they're shocked that there's a heartbeat, some of them?
Yes, they can be very surprised.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Because we'll start doing ultrasounds at like 6 weeks.
Yes.
You know, and when you think about how tiny that is, that's already carrying a heartbeat, that's developing the life, sustaining it as it continues to grow. You really get to stand in that moment. Is there like one story or one woman that specifically you think of, you're like, man, that moment, getting to do her ultrasound, like I think of her often?
Yeah, actually, I did one recently on a mom. We thought she was going to be about 7 weeks. And when we found the gestational sac, it looked more like she was 5 to 6 weeks. She was a little bit earlier than we thought. And it was kind of hard to do a measurement on the baby, but I zoomed in and saw that we saw a little fetal heart movement in there. And it was so tiny. And so I was trying to see if we could get off the heart rate on there, and it was 94, which means that heart had not been beating very long.
Wow.
It had literally just started.
Wow.
And it doesn't stay that low long. That is in the very, very beginning when that heart stops, and it's only going to get faster from there.
Yeah.
But it was an amazing moment for me. I was so mesmerized by it, and the fact that we were seeing the very beginning moments of this tiny baby's life.
Wow.
And it was right there in front of us on this ultrasound. And the fact that we're able to see that and experience that, that baby was probably about 2 to 5 millimeters big, or the size of an apple seed.
Wow.
At that stage in pregnancy.
And you were seeing the heartbeat
and
already.
we were seeing it. I felt like, that heart had probably started maybe the day before.
Wow.
Or that day. Who knows? But it was close. But that was something I took home with me, just amazed at God's creation and the intentionality of every single day.
Yeah. Of their life.
Of our lives.
I think that's why I always say, like, that moment really feels holy. You know, it's just this reverent, quiet, still moment. And although that woman might be feeling a wave of emotions, you're getting, like what you're just saying, like, God has numbered every day of our lives. He knew this child that's being knitted. You're getting to experience the early stages of creation that is going to continue to develop. You're going to see on the other side of that a baby that's living and breathing and eating one day and walking, and going to be the next generation that compels, hopefully, the mission, of God forward. And I just think it's just this reverent awe and wonder.
It really was.
I just think every time a girl walks in that are going to get to have that type of an appointment with us, I'm just like, you're going to get to see the wonder and amazingness of God, whether they believe or not.
Yes.
Like, they don't have to be tuned into it. But, I know not every woman walking into that room obviously feels ready. I don't even know if you felt that when you were doing your ultrasound as a mom. I know me, I was terrified. Even though we had to go through fertility stuff, we definitely wanted our children. We were paying lots of money so we could have our children. And you still feel nervous. It's all new. It's new experiences. But maybe even some of our clients it's more not planned. It's more a crisis situation. I know they come in scared and just overwhelmed and cautious, unsure, second guessing everything. They're replaying it. Maybe it feels outer body to them because they're just like, not me, How do you hold space for all that? Because yes, you're going to go through the steps of, all right, let's put this on and let's start doing the ultrasound. But they're sitting on that table too and just thinking through everything. How do you hold that space for them and love on them.
I do try to communicate exactly what I'm doing and what we're seeing. I think a lot of women feel like as soon as that ultrasound goes on their belly that we're going to see something. And that doesn't always happen. It can sometimes take a minute.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like they're almost holding their breath, waiting to see what we're going to see. So sometimes I remind them to breathe. And I tell them that it may take a second before we find the baby, because these babies are tiny. But when we see the tiny baby, I'm always excited. And so I hope that conveys to them how excited I am to find this tiny little baby.
Yeah.
And I try to convey to them what we're seeing and what this is that we're seeing. If I'm doing measurements or if I'm looking for the heartbeat, I always show them what that is and what these measurements are. And I always try to express to them, if it's right and within where it's supposed to be, I tell them that, communicate that to them. Because I feel like they're all so nervous and just anxiously waiting to see what the result is.
Yeah. Whether they're like intentionally going to like carry to term and that's the goal, or if they're second guessing it, you know, it's that moment of truth.
Yes.
You know, I think that's why even further, why I think it's such a holy moment is I think loving people well is telling them the truth. And, you know, they're coming in scared and going, well, I don't know if I'm pregnant, and I took 1,000 tests at home, and some of them said yeah, and some said no. Like they're in denial almost. That moment takes any second guessing out of the room.
Yes,
you know, and the truth is laid on the table so clearly. There's a child. There's the heartbeat. Here's how long
and
it is.
How far along they are. What their due date is.
Yeah.
Like all these things just make it real.
Real. You know, I think that's something we love about having you as a volunteer and just being on our team is that, like, because you're so nurturing, and maybe because the Lord's, you know, trained you well with having 4 daughters, I'm sure. I can only imagine the emotions and, you know, just going through high school years with your daughters and all of that. And I think you bring that steadiness into the room with them. You're like, I can handle your emotion because I have been equipped by my daughters for it. You know, kind of shifting gears a little bit, you know, there's often this like cultural narrative around early pregnancy. You know, it's just, all have heard it. It's just a clump of cells. It's not really life yet. Can you just tell us from a medical standpoint, like what would you describe as actually happening in those earliest days?
The fetal heart movements are actually the very beginning of a functioning cardiovascular system. And that is starting, like I said, what I saw in that patient at 5 to 6 weeks. It's far more intricate than just a clump of cells. During this time, they have a yolk sac, which is in place of the placenta, and it's all their food and nutrients. And so that is there until the placenta is ready to give them all that. God has every single day planned of this forming baby and exactly what they need and when they need it from the very beginning. By the end of 6 weeks, the heart is beating and the brain and the spinal cord close. By 7 weeks, their face and eyes and limbs develop. By 8 weeks, nose, ears, eyelids begin to form. And by 12 weeks, this baby can make movements and it has fingernails. It happens so
12
fast.
weeks it has fingernails.
And that's what I try to tell people when they come in, especially at the 6 week mark. It's hard to really see anything. And I'm like, just come back in 2 weeks. What you're going to see is going to be such a huge change.
Difference.
Yeah. It's amazing how much they grow in such a short period
I remember
of time.
when I got pregnant, I downloaded those apps and they would week to week tell me everything that's happening. And I remember just being in awe. I'm like, created hair, you know, like eyeballs are now in there, you know, fingernails, like every intricate detail. And like, I love that what you're saying is like how God is really like every day has a plan and a purpose.
It's not a clump of cells trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah,
Every day has
every
a plan.
day is a forward movement.
Yes.
Like to be able to live and breathe outside the womb.
Yes.
It's like I'm being created to be a highly functional person in society.
Yes.
I am going to be able to live and breathe and talk and move. And of course, we see crisis, sure, like, medical diagnoses of things, or disabilities, just because we do live in a fallen world. But that child can bring purpose and joy and reason, for life. And so, how has firsthand experiences shaped your understanding of like early like human development? Like whether that was with a daughter or just seeing it, watching your baby grow, just experiencing it, watching even in the labor and delivery rooms and taking care of babies, all of that. Like what is just your understanding medically that if people would doubt this, that it's not life, or what I'm saying is like so many people think, it's a clump of cells, or it's not viable yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't matter if I was to choose abortion because it couldn't live on its own. What would you say to that medically?
It's a life that is forming and growing every single day, and it has been created.
Yeah.
And it is there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you end it, it is a life that has ended.
Yeah. Like it didn't end itself.
Right.
You
it didn't end
having
itself.
to
You've
choose
taken an action to end that life that would have otherwise existed.
Continue to grow.
Whether or not it's inside us or outside of the womb, it's still a life.
Yeah. And I think that's so people have to really chew on that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yes, it may not be able to live, but it would continue to grow to be able to live unless someone intervenes. And I think that's a hard, when you have to sit down and actually think on it. I think sometimes it's easier, like it's just a clump of cells. It's not going to feel, it's not going to remember, it's not going to whatever, so it doesn't matter. But when you're like, wow, it could continue to grow. It's just like a plant. If I'm planting, I have a plant in my living room, and obviously this doesn't have as much value as a life, but if I just stop watering, nurturing it, and taking care of it, it's going to die.
Yeah.
But it probably would have kept living, It had a chance, but I have to do something about it, and it's like the mom has to choose to continue to carry that out. So
I think if you see the heartbeat, like on the ultrasound so early, and it becomes so much more real to you, it would be hard to ever call it a clump of cells after seeing that.
Yeah, and I think because you have such a front row seat to it, I think, it's like, of course it's life.
Yeah.
But I think so many of us, we don't have that front row seat. And that's why I'm like, it is such a sacred moment that you get to really experience where everyone else can just stay naive to it. But man, when you know something firsthand, it's like there's no denying that this baby is growing. And how, we have our girls come back every 2 weeks, until they get in with their OB. And I know you just continue to see that baby grow leaps and bounds, and how quickly things are moving forward. And before we know it, like you're saying,
they're moving, and their legs. And
I think I remember that I didn't get because I had trouble getting pregnant. They watched me very closely, so I had some of those like really expensive ultrasounds. And I remember even some they were doing it. It was almost like handheld ones. And I remember the doctor turning it and showing me, and I was watching my daughter like kind of kick and like move, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's in there just like doing stuff.
And they have so much space at that age to move around.
And I couldn't feel it, but they're like, yeah, absolutely. She's moving her arms and her kicking her legs, and I thought, like, not just even the pure shock of her heartbeat. I'm like, look at her. And this is, then when I got to come back at like 20 weeks and see her and do the anatomy scan and all of that, and I'm like, oh, she's staring at me now. I have a picture, literally. She turns and just looks at the camera like, leave me alone, Stop poking me and moving me so you can get these photos. And I'm like, well, isn't that just like a woman? Like, hold on. I do not want my picture taken yet. And I was like, I could just see, I was like, ooh, she might just have a little bit of sass because of how she's looking through the ultrasound. I was like, oh my goodness. And so, okay, serving in this role, I know for you isn't just clinical and like, I have this degree and so I'll just use it. I know it's so much more personal for you. So how has witnessing life in the earliest days changed you? And maybe just like, you give up time. You have a busy life. You have daughters. You don't have to make time to come serve weekly at Life Choices. What made that go, I'm going to take the time to go be a part of this?
After being a stay-at-home mom for so many years, my kids have gotten to a point where I really did want to give back and do something outside of the home.
Yeah.
And so when I met with you that day to talk about the position, you listed every single thing that you needed, or that the volunteer person needed to have. And it was like you listed every single thing that I was and every single educational background that I had. And I felt like in that moment, God was just calling me out. Like, this is it. And this is where I need you right now. And I was so excited to find a place where I could serve about something that I was so passionate about. Because after being at home with my girls for so long, I've kind of forgotten about that piece of me that used to exist. And so I had the experience on labor and delivery with like the second and the third trimester moms. And so it's been really neat to come in and experience this first trimester and to see the very beginning. And it's been really cool to see just those first stages of the miracle of life and pregnancy and what God is doing in those first few weeks.
Yeah. How has that like built your faith? Has it deepened it?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It can't not.
Yeah.
Watching.
What has that been like? Just, because we're sitting, I remember that day you came in, I'm like, I immediately wanted to hire you. You're like, no, I'll volunteer. I was like, no. I think every week all of us are trying to convince Shelley to be there as much as she wants. We just love having you there every day. You're a joy to always be around. And, but you made a sacrifice to say yes. You started coming. You got trained. You were like overly like, keep training me. We're like, I think you got it. But everyone feels intimidated. It's like, oh, okay. Like the buck ends with me. Like I gotta, all of that. And then I know like you just showing up faithfully every week. Like, I would just love to hear what maybe you're processing with the Lord in that. Like as you see these girls, there's outcomes that obviously we don't hope for. How have you processed through all that?
I feel like in a way, God has almost brought me here to kind of be a mom to some of these girls and like a support system. A lot of them don't have a support system.
Yeah.
And so I'm coming alongside of them in a moment where they need somebody there with them to process hard things and overwhelming things and exciting things.
Yeah.
And I'm really good at processing emotions.
Yes,
with
you
girls.
are. I love that the Lord used you.
Yeah.
Like he used you with 4 daughters. I'm sure you had no clue when you had them like, oh, one day I'm going to be volunteering at, Life Choices where we have a lot of women sitting down.
Yeah.
A lot of emotion.
Yeah.
And be like ready to have that mom touch.
And some of them are my daughter's age.
Yeah.
And so I see my girls in them and how they would feel in this position and when they're alone or.
Yeah. Man. I mean, nothing's better than like being able to pick up your phone and like call your mom. And if you don't have that relationship with your mom, like, man, I pray, reconciliation, or if your mom's passed, like, man, my heart just goes out for you. But because there's really nothing like it to be able to call your mom. You can freely talk, if that is a safe space for you. And, you're not going to be judged. Usually a mom's going to like kind of go to bat too with your kid for a second, even if you're going to come back and give godly wisdom and all that. It's like I've already seen glimmers of that with Riley. I'm like, Mama Bear and me comes out. I'm like, wait, let's process it how like God would.
The Mama Bear's a real thing.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it's a real thing.
And there's nothing better than that. Or like I know even just when my mom would, embrace me and give me a hug, it's like the emotion I didn't even know I had will just start coming out. And the fact that you're right, a lot of our girls may not have that. And to know like from the moment they walk in to back there with you, that we can be that friend, that mother, that, hey, we might be absolutely strangers.
Yeah.
But being willing to put ourselves in that place to meet that need. in the moment that I know that they'll remember the rest of their life.
Yes. No.
You know?
It is. It's a very overwhelming moment for them.
Yeah. You know, for women, you know, I know who may have experienced abortion, or even they're so excited and they're pregnant finally, and then to walk through a miscarriage or have a complicated pregnancy. Like, there's so much that goes on. I know this topic can carry like so much grief for a woman. What would you want if you were to say, because I know we've had women who have chosen, you know, abortion, they've gone that route, and there might be someone listening that may have gone through that or even walked through a miscarriage, and they're just like, I'm overwhelmed in my grief of it. What would you want to say to her?
I think one of the most amazing things about our God is that he has unconditional love for us. And he is always there waiting on us. Even when we have given up on him, he has never given up on us. And when we feel alone, he hasn't left. He is always there.
Yeah.
And so for those people with regrets, the power of healing and forgiveness is real. And that is always available.
Yeah.
And for sorrow, if you cry out to him and ask him, he will always be there.
Yeah.
I personally have gone through a lot of grief in my life, and that is something I could not walk through alone, and I know these moms can't walk through alone either. And you just have to come alongside God and ask him to support you and take you through that, because grief has to come out. I think a lot of people want to stuff it and hide it and not deal with it. So and you can't do that with grief. No. It comes out one way or another.
It will,
Whether you do it in a healthy way or an unhealthy way, it comes out.
Yeah.
And so I would challenge them to do it in a healthy way and reach out and get to know God in the process.
What are some ways, if you're willing to share, has grief come out in you? Because I think a listener is like, oh, I was just frustrated. Or I was, you know, just impatient because my kids are just getting at me. But a lot of that can be signs that you might be shoving. Like,
I mean, a good cry. Really. I think that has been the best way. And really just to be honest about how you're feeling.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to be honest with how they're feeling. They want to pretend like everything's okay and act like everything's okay.
Yeah, totally.
And you got to be honest when you're having a hard day, or when things are hard, and when you're struggling with emotions, with decisions or loss, or like you said, a pregnancy that hasn't gone as expected, maybe a delivery that hasn't gone as expected, or a baby that maybe had health problems that weren't expected. You've got to be able to vocalize when you're disappointed or sad or even angry. And be able to talk about that with someone, whether it's a family member or a spouse or a friend or a counselor. You have to have at least one trusted person that you can vocalize that to.
And that's something we've started adding on that I saw was like maybe just a gap is our counseling program, because women would come in and they're going through this, or we'd confirm pregnancy, and then weeks later they would call and maybe they miscarried, or they got in with their OB and they heard horrible news about their child, you know, like might be something terminal ill or something, and or they call us back and they're like, I did decide to abort. And it's like, man, you know, because all of that falls under like that medical realm, but then people don't know what to do with that. And then they find themselves pregnant again, and they never cope from the last
dealt
thing.
with the first thing.
And I'm just like, whoa. Like, when I was realizing our women were so safe with us that they were even coming back and sharing maybe even outcomes with us that we weren't, you know, we were praying against. I'm like, wow, they still feel safe. We're still their friend. And to be able to help them process with a counselor, like to help them get that out. Or if they're choosing to carry to term, maybe you were younger than you thought, or you thought the dad was going to stay, or your mom didn't respond right, or whatever the case may be. It's like you're saying, like you just have to get that out so that that doesn't like just root complete bitterness and frustration and anger, because you definitely don't want to go into motherhood and be like blaming your blessing. And it's like, no. You got yourself here. And you got to walk that out, because here comes a baby, and we want
It
to
will eat away at you.
Yeah, it will.
It will.
It'll rob areas of your life, make you blind to things that you just thought, you could easily see, and it's like, that is a blind spot. Yeah. Oh man, thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have to volunteer. You chose to. I'm so thankful. I'm like, I wish we could duplicate you all over. What moved you simply from being a nurse to serving in this specific space?
Well, like I said, I'd been kind of waiting until my kids got older
Yeah.
to serve, but I think for anyone that's interested in serving, there's a place for everybody. Up until now, my area of service was just taking people food because that's all I had time for in my life.
I'm already cooking a meal
right
for these 4 girls.
Right.
I can make you a plate.
I can take somebody else
That's
too.
so great, Shelley.
So I think every stage of life and everybody's skills and talents are different, and God can use those in different ways.
I love that.
And so my stage of life changed, and so I was just praying to God on how he could use my skills and talents for this next stage.
Yeah.
And honestly, I did not even have nursing in mind necessarily.
That's so crazy.
I just knew I wanted to do something outside of the home for me.
Yeah.
I've been taking care of these kids for a really long time, and so I wanted to do something different. But God put this together in a really neat way.
But what I love about it, Shelley, is like you could have had a day for yourself. You could have used it to go get a massage or get your nails done, and maybe do those things. Or, just like, I'm going to gather with my friends, and I'm sure you do those things. But you're like, I'm going to choose to give back. Like, I know there's a mom that's listening that's like, I've had my house full, and now that's slowly, my hands don't feel as full anymore. How is, like, because how you're saying it to me is like you wanted to find purpose again.
Yeah.
If there's a mom listening, it's like, I have lost my purpose, because you carve space to like find your purpose.
It's easy to get all consumed in your kids and kind of forget what your purpose was. So yeah, this has kind of brought me back and reminded me that I do have skills and talents outside of my children.
Yeah.
But it brings me joy being there.
Yeah.
I really do. I love being with the women. I loved being a nurse when I was in labor and delivery.
Yeah.
I loved taking care of those mamas. I loved being there with them. And so I'm back to taking care of mamas. It's just in a different way. Because I don't have the time to commit to a hospital job anymore. But I can be with these mamas now, and just in a different stage.
I mean, it's encouraging for me to hear. I'll be honest, I'm a mom. I have 2 young children, 6 and 3, and every moment when I'm home, it feels full and loud. And I don't even set an alarm clock, because my children will wake me up.
Oh yeah.
Some people are like, what, do they sleep in? I'm like, that's not it. There's no such thing in my house. I wake up to, Mom, my light's green. I'm like, Augie? Like, I'll go over the, fancy now, what are those called? Baby monitors. They have like microphones now. I'm like, just get up and come to my room. No, Mommy, come hold me. I'm like, and I know I'll never, never get that moment back. So I'm like, just get up, go do it. Very thankful. But there are parts of me that have hit a shelf.
Yeah.
And so just to hear you say, like, it is a season and you're going to rediscover it or find new ways, or it'll be a discovery, like, it's really encouraging to me to hear that right now, because I'm like, am I ever going to get that back? It's just like on the shelf. I used to love and enjoy those things. Yeah. And sometimes you're like, it can feel like you grieve it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, you used to work and deliver babies all the time. I'm sure you're like, where's the action? And now you're like wiping snotty noses and changing diapers, or now I'm sure talking through all the tea and the drama and what boy problem
hormones.
there is.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And so that's encouraging to me to be like, it might be on a shelf for now, and you'll get back to it, and God will use it in a different way potentially. Yeah. So I love that. For someone who's listening, maybe feels stirred, they're feeling a stirring like, maybe I should serve, and that feels intimidating. What would you say to them?
Man, if you start praying for something, God's faithful to answer. That is what I have found.
So she's like, don't pray. No.
I mean, if you ask for it, you're going to get opportunities. Because I started praying for it, and a friend of mine was volunteering at Life Choices, and she had seen your post looking for a volunteer, and she started screenshotting them and sending them to me. And she sent it to me, and I was like, yeah, that sounds good. I'll look into it. And then she texted me next week, did you call him? Did you call him? Did you call him? I'm like, oh, not yet, but I'm going to. And I had all intentions of doing it, but it kept getting put on the back burner. And so eventually she texted me enough times.
Oh,
I
that's
followed
so
through.
funny. I did not know this.
But yeah, God was just using her to be a little nagging voice in
I
my
love
ear.
that.
Mm-hmm.
When we turn the camera off and the mic's off, you'll have to tell me who it is. I'll send them a personal thank you note. Thank you for nagging her.
Well, what's funny is she had to stop volunteering soon after that.
Oh,
because she had a family emergency.
Okay.
And then when her family emergency went away,
yeah,
I brought her back.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Oh my goodness, that's okay. I know it is.
We're
That's
keeping
so
each
funny.
other accountable.
I like it. I like it. I will personally give her a hug. Oh gosh, that's so funny. Okay, and then for the person who might be listening, who's like, "What do you mean it's not a clump of cells? I've never heard that." Or when I'm scrolling social media, that's what everyone's saying to me. So I've been very pro-choice. You know, maybe they're feeling like for the first time, awareness. What would you say to them? Like, is there anything you'd encourage them with?
Maybe look into both sides. I think for a lot of pro-choice people, they only want to hear that side.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're willing to hear both sides, and willing to be open-minded about that, and hear that there really is another side and there really is another perspective.
Yeah.
I've heard testimonies from kids who were a failed abortion, or whose moms wanted to abort them and it didn't happen. And that's powerful.
Yeah.
To hear people
I know
that should have been aborted and weren't. Yeah.
That actually happened to us. Was that your client?
I remember her from last summer.
Yeah, she came in and chose abortion, took the pills, and then when she came back to us, I don't know, it had to be 2 months later, she was like, you know, she already had told us that she aborted, and she's like, but I'm pregnant again. And we do the ultrasound, and that baby was the age of what she thought she decided.
The first one?
Yeah, the first one. And so we were like, that abortion did not work.
That gives me the chills.
Yeah,
and I know that
it's like,
story.
yeah.
God has a plan for that baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and she was like, oh my God. And just that moment of redemption for her. She was just like, oh my goodness. Because whether she was admitting it yet or not, there was that grief there. And then her to be in that same seat again so closely. And then to have that wave wash over her of like, oh, it didn't happen. And this is my baby. And oh my gosh, I'm at this many weeks now and over halfway. And just, yeah, it was a miracle to witness and to sit in. And so, yeah, as we kind of come to a close and we start wrapping up, like, you know, what I've always admired about you, Shelley, is your steadiness to bring that into any room. You're not just performing a task, like you deeply care about the women we serve. You care and you value life. And you do that in such a graceful way. You know, I think you have convictions and then you have the educational standpoint, and they're mirrored and married so well together. It's like, I can value life and that's going to give me purpose, and I can use my, you know, nursing background to enter into a gap and a hole. But then you always go a step further and you nurture and you love, and like you just display, I believe, just the God's grace in a room. Because you're just like, I know this may not be your you know, what you thought. And there's grace that covers that decision, that maybe you're experiencing a consequence of being sexually active and all that. But that does not mean your child is a consequence.
Right.
It's about to be an amazing blessing.
Gift, yes.
And you're going to be refined and you're going to understand love. And I think just how you even started talking when you were a labor and delivery nurse and were handing babies over to the mom, you know, like I just think about what was that like, you know, just handing them over and being like,
it never gets old.
Here's your baby.
The miracle of birth never got old for me.
Wow.
It was always exciting.
Yeah.
And always amazing to be a part of.
and they're all different.
Yes.
Every delivery,
Very.
I mean, even I have 2 kids, they were vastly different.
Yes.
I just think even that being so different, and every child so different, it's like God really has set every person apart and knows them and every hair on their head in detail. It's His creation.
Yes.
He doesn't run out of creation.
Oh, no.
It's mind blowing to me
Yeah.
that every one of us have a different DNA. Mind blowing.
Yes.
Like, how do you not believe in God? You
Yeah.
know, it's where I get
Yes.
to.
No,
It
you're
always
right.
rids me of myself, and I get to that, like at the end, I'm like, how can we all have such uniqueness about us, but a common thread that brings us all together? It's
Right.
mind blowing. So before we wrap up, is there anything you would want to say, you know, to the person listening on the other side, that you would, from anything, if they are on 2 times speed, is what I like to say, you know, we all do it. This would be the part to take it off that and say, just listen to this part, like slowly. What would you want to say to them?
Well, I wrote down a scripture.
Okay, I love
to read.
that.
Psalm 139, 13 through 14. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, and I know that full well. So this scripture, I mean, it just says every single thing that we're seeing on ultrasound. We are seeing what God is creating and putting together in a mother's womb, and it's a miracle to witness. A friend of mine once said that the things that we are seeing for a long period of time, only God saw. And when she said that, it kind of blew me away. I was like, you're right. Like, when did ultrasound get so advanced that we were able to see these babies at such a young gestational age? I mean, I don't know for sure. I'm guessing like the 70s or 80s, but what we are seeing for a long time, God was the only one privileged to see that.
Wow.
And I mean, I consider it a privilege to be able to see that.
Wow.
Every day.
That is, I've never heard that or thought of it.
Thought of it that way.
You know, especially in my day and age, it's like, you know, going through fertility, they had such advancements. You could see the follicles where the egg gets implanted to. Like, that's what I was getting to see. Like, the earliest stage. And it was mind-blowing, honestly. I was just like, oh, who knew you could see the follicles on where the egg gets implanted and it cover, you know, it's just like, I learned so much. I was like, they don't teach you, maybe they do teach you this in school. I did not pay attention in school enough. And to have the technology.
So it's kind of like a gift He's given us.
Yeah.
That He's allowed us into something that for a long time, He's the only one that got to see that.
Wow, what a blessing. It's such a blessing. And for every woman listening who hasn't gotten to experience it yet, do not buy into the lie that it's not God's creation, that it's not a miracle. And when you get to experience it for the first time, go in with that perspective of like, I'm going to get to see, you know, the earliest days of my child being formed, and just take your breath away. It really will. Let that holy moment wash over you.
Yes.
And you'll remember it for the rest of your days. Well, I'm so thankful again for this conversation. I think it's going to bring light to so many people who might just be living in that confusion. Maybe it's going to bring some clarity. I know it will. And just when you're scrolling at night and you're hearing a lie, that you can call it by name and say, that's not going to be rooted in my heart. I know the truth. I've heard it from a medical professional. I can go chat GPT and maybe, I don't even know they have videos. I'm sure they do. Like, if you want to know, like you said, if you really want to know, do your homework to know. Yeah. It's not just a clump
you can see pictures
of cells.
Yes. Yes, amazing pictures.
Yeah. Well, guys, that's it for this for today's episode, and we hope you'll join us back next week for another episode of Uphold Her.